Golden Age Hollywood stars left behind fame, fortune, and the weirdest wills imaginable. From secret mistresses to daily roses from beyond the grave, these 15 shocking details prove death doesn't end the drama. Gary Cooper's secret provision. Gary Cooper embodied the classic Hollywood leading man, rugged, stoic, effortlessly charismatic. Known for High Noon and Sergeant York, he was one of the most beloved actors of his generation. When his will was revealed after his 1961 passing, it contained a surprising and scandalous detail, a substantial bequest to a woman who was not his wife. Cooper was seen as a devoted family man, married to socialite Veronica "Rocky" Cooper for nearly 3 decades. What many didn't know, he had a long-term extramarital affair with actress Patricia Neal lasting several years in the 1940s. When Cooper fell ill with cancer, Neal reportedly visited him in secret, and he allegedly made promises to provide for her even after his passing. When Cooper's will was made public, it revealed he'd left behind a generous financial provision for an unnamed close friend. While legal documents didn't explicitly name Neal, many speculated she was the intended recipient. The revelation led to speculation and controversy. His widow Rocky reportedly fought hard to protect Cooper's legacy and maintain her dignity, refusing to publicly acknowledge any infidelity. Jack Benny's Daily Roses. Jack Benny was one of the most beloved entertainers of the 20th century, known for impeccable comedic timing, signature violin playing, and famously frugal on-screen persona. When Benny passed in 1974 at age 80, his will revealed a far different side of the legendary funny man. The most touching and unusual detail wasn't about money, it was about love. Benny made arrangements for his wife, Mary Livingston, to receive a single red rose every day for the rest of her life. This romantic gesture was carried out through a local florist, instructed to ensure a fresh rose would arrive at her doorstep daily. For those who knew Benny personally, this request was both touching and characteristic. While his stage persona played up supposed cheapness, in reality, Benny was known for generosity and devotion to his wife. After Benny's death, Mary Livingston was reportedly overwhelmed when the first rose arrived. She had no idea her husband had planned this. The realization that he'd thought of her so deeply moved her to tears. She later recalled that receiving a rose each day made her feel as though Jack was still with her in spirit. By the time Mary passed in 1983, nearly a decade of roses had never stopped. Harry Houdini's Afterlife Code. Harry Houdini, the legendary escape artist and illusionist, was famous for defying death in his performances. Even in his final moments, he left behind one of the most bizarre celebrity wills in history. Houdini, who died in 1926, was obsessed with the supernatural. While he spent much of his later career debunking fraudulent spiritualists, he remained open to the possibility that genuine connection with the afterlife could exist. This fascination led to a highly unusual detail in his will, a secret coded message that he arranged to send from beyond the grave. Before his death, Houdini and his beloved wife Bess devised a secret 10-word message that only she knew. He promised that if there was any way to communicate from the afterlife, he would use this phrase to prove life after death was real. Houdini instructed Bess to hold a seance every year on the anniversary of his death, where she would wait for a spirit medium to deliver the secret message. For 10 years, Bess faithfully held seances, hoping to receive her husband's coded message. The events attracted widespread public interest, with spiritualists and skeptics eager to see if Houdini could truly escape mortality's final trap. On the 10th anniversary of his death in 1936, Bess held her final seance on the rooftop of the Knickerbocker Hotel in Hollywood. With cameras rolling, she dramatically declared, "Houdini did not come through." Joan Crawford's cruel exclusion. Joan Crawford was one of Hollywood's most iconic leading ladies, known for striking beauty, intense screen presence, and steely determination. When her will was revealed after her 1977 death, it sent shockwaves through Hollywood, not because of what she left behind, but because of who she left out. In one of the most infamous details of any celebrity will, Crawford specifically disinherited 2 of her 4 adopted children, Christina and Christopher. In a cold and cutting statement, her will read, "It is my intention to make no provision herein for my son Christopher or my daughter Christina for for reasons which are well known to them. This unusual decision fueled speculation about the deep rift between Crawford and her children. Christina, in particular, had long spoken of alleged abuse she suffered at her mother's hands. These claims later became the basis for her controversial 1978 memoir, Mommy Dearest. The book painted Crawford as a cruel and abusive parent, became a bestseller, and was later adapted into a film. Whether or not the claims were true, Crawford's decision to leave Christina and Christopher nothing only reinforced the public's perception of their troubled relationship. Crawford left the majority of her estate, valued at around $2 million, to her two youngest adopted daughters, Cindy and Kathy, who had maintained close and loving relationships with their mother. Marlene Dietrich's Berlin twist. Marlene Dietrich was one of Hollywood's most enigmatic and glamorous stars, known for sultry screen presence, androgynous style, and effortless ability to captivate audiences worldwide. When she passed in 1992 at age 90, her will revealed unusual details that perfectly reflected her unique personality. One of the strangest aspects, she left almost no money to her family. Instead, the bulk of her estate, including her massive collection of letters, photographs, costumes, and film memorabilia, was left to the city of Berlin. This was surprising given her long history of strained relations with her homeland. Dietrich had famously opposed the Nazi regime during World War II, becoming an American citizen and performing for Allied troops in defiance of Hitler. For years, she refused to return to Germany, considering it a place that had betrayed her. Yet in the end, she chose to have much of her legacy preserved in Berlin. Her decision to be buried in Berlin was equally perplexing. Despite living most of her life in Paris and New York, Dietrich's final resting place was the German capital, where she was laid to rest next to her mother, a symbolic reconciliation. Dietrich also left behind a massive collection of love letters detailing her affairs with some of the most famous figures of the 20th century, including Ernest Hemingway, John F. Kennedy, and Edith Piaf. Fred Astaire's Broken Promise. Fred Astaire, the legendary dancer and actor, was known for effortless grace on the dance floor and ability to make complicated routines look easy. When he passed in 1987, he left behind a carefully crafted will, ensuring his image and likeness could never be used for commercial purposes after his death. No posthumous film appearances, no digitally altered dance sequences, and no advertisements featuring his image. His decision stemmed from a lifelong belief that an artist's work should stand on its own and not be manipulated for profit after they were gone. He was especially wary of the emerging trend of using deceased celebrities in commercials. This clause made headlines as one of the strongest legal protections any celebrity had ever placed on their posthumous image. However, in a surprising twist, this ironclad rule was broken in 1997, 10 years after Astaire's death, when his widow Robin Smith Astaire sold the rights to his image for a commercial featuring a digitally recreated version of him dancing with a vacuum cleaner. This decision outraged Astaire's longtime fans and critics who felt the ad violated his explicit wishes. Robin defended the move, arguing it was done to honor his legacy, but many believed it was a betrayal of his well-documented stance. Gloria Swanson's Sealed Secrets. Gloria Swanson, the iconic star of Sunset Boulevard and defining actress of the silent film era, was known for dramatic flair, lavish lifestyle, and devotion to maintaining her image as a Hollywood legend. One of the most bizarre details of her will was her insistence on being buried with a collection of personal items, some with deep sentimental value, others simply strange. Among them was a small vial of perfume she claimed had been gifted to her by an unnamed European royal. She also requested to be buried with a particular silk scarf she'd worn in one of her early films, which she believed had brought her luck. But the most striking detail had less to do with material possessions and more with her lasting message to Hollywood. She left behind a scathing letter included as part of her estate documents criticizing the modern film industry for its lack of artistry. In this letter, she lamented how Hollywood had changed, stating the industry had become obsessed with profit over creativity. She urged future filmmakers to bring back the magic of cinema. Perhaps the most sentimental aspect was her decision to leave her private diaries to a trusted confidant rather than her immediate family. These diaries, reportedly filled with intimate details about her relationships, career struggles, and personal philosophies, remained hidden from the public for years. Some historians speculate they contain secrets about her rumored affairs with powerful figures, including Joseph Kennedy Sr. and Charlie Chaplin. Carole Lombard's patriotic legacy. Carole Lombard, the queen of screwball comedy, was beloved for sharp wit, dazzling beauty, and effortless comedic timing. She was also deeply devoted to her country, tragically dying in a plane crash in 1942 while returning from a war bond rally. Though her death at just 33 was shocking, her will revealed intriguing and deeply personal details reflecting both her humor and devotion to those she loved. One of the most unusual clauses was a provision dedicated to her pets. A lifelong animal lover, she left a substantial portion of her estate specifically for the care of her beloved dogs, ensuring they'd be well taken care of for the rest of their lives. This was highly unusual at the time, as pet trusts were not common in the 1940s. Lombard even specified the kind of food and treatment she expected them to receive. Another fascinating aspect was her treatment of her husband, Clark Gable. At the time of her death, Gable was devastated. Lombard had made sure to provide for him financially, leaving him personal keepsakes, including love letters and mementos from their time together. What truly stood out was a handwritten note she left for Gable, discovered among her personal effects. The note reportedly contained words of encouragement and love, urging him to move forward with his life and continue his career. Despite her wealth, Lombard's will was surprisingly modest compared to other stars. She'd always been generous with her money, frequently donating to charitable causes, especially during World War II. Her will continued this tradition, allocating a significant portion to war relief efforts and the Red Cross. From secret mistresses to sealed diaries, Golden Age Hollywood stars left behind wills as dramatic as their on-screen performances. Which shocking details surprised you most? Drop your thoughts below and subscribe for more old Hollywood secrets.